Rock type number 2 is igneous rocks. These are the ones that solidify from molten rock or magma. Lava occurs when that magma comes out of a volcano. So in this image, the red coming cascading down the sides of the volcano is lava. It's also magma. Inside the earth, it's just magma. And sedimentary rocks, remember, make up the outside of the earth, 75% of the exposed rock at the surface. Igneous rocks make up most of the crust, most of the earth. There are two kinds. The first is intrusive. And intrusive igneous rocks are those rocks that cool and crystallize from a magma that has intruded into the pre-existing rock. So in the image below, this large white blob intruded or squirted when it was still molten into this darker gray. Okay, because that magma is underground, it's insulated, and so the cooling process is kind of slow. What that gives igneous rocks is the time to cool, to grow big crystals. So intrusive igneous rocks are classified or noted by their bigger crystals and intruded into those the country rock. Okay, the crystals are interlocking, just one right after another, right, like a puzzle. Example is a granite, and there are sharp contacts, so I could draw the contact between the intrusion and those gray rocks. Extrusive igneous rocks are going to form quickly as magma is cooling as it comes out of a volcano. So because of that rapid cooling rate, the crystals in an extrusive igneous rock are going to be small. They're still there, we just can't see them with our naked eye. Sometimes they're not there though, and that would be the case like a glassy obsidian, which is an amorphous solid, no crystal structure. So obsidian is an extrusive igneous rock. Examples of these would be like basalt, which makes up most of the oceanic crust, the outer of the oceanic crust, and obsidian, that glass that comes out of a volcano and cools so quickly there's no crystal form to it. Intrusive, extrusive. Intrusive igneous rocks, we talk about them on how they formed, and then we can talk about the classification of them. They intrude or squirt into cool country rock, the overlying rock. They can do this by wedging into the overlying rock, breaking off chunks of the overlying rock, and even assimilating or melting some of that country rock into the magma. Plutons are the big group of intrusions that can be different shapes and sizes. So large igneous bodies formed at depth in the Earth's crust found when they have uplifted, the country rock has eroded away, or in underground mines. All right, here are different kinds of intrusions. So that one I just read about was a pluton. It's kind of a big blob. A bigger blob would be like a batholith, and that would be like the kind of size igneous intrusion that underlies like all of Yosemite National Park or all of the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont. Big areas, many, many miles of igneous rock. Pluton would be smaller, like a mountain size. Coming off of batholiths and plutons are these smaller intrusions. There's two main kinds, a dike and a sill. A dike is going to cut across layers, and a sill is going to intrude horizontal to layers. The last one here is a stock, and that is like the plumbing work that would feed a volcano. On the surface, we will see something like a lava flow, where lava comes out. That's extrusive. And volcanic necks, that's an intrusive igneous rock that is now exposed at the surface. So that's the inside of a volcano that is eroded away. Igneous rocks are classified in two ways, by their texture and their composition. By texture, we really mean like the grain sizes, the grain shapes, and the arrangement of the minerals. By mineralogy, we're looking at the chemical composition. So here's some examples of igneous rocks: andesites, granites, and pumice, and basalt, obsidian, and rhyolite, and scoria, and pegmatite, and diorite, and gabbro, and peridotite, and tuff. All different kinds of igneous rocks. Let's look at some specific examples here and we'll compare them. So here's a new term. This is felsic. Felsic means that a rock is rich in feldspar, and silica, which is mostly, we're meaning quartz here. So a felsic igneous rock is rich in the feldspars and silicate-rich, other silicate-rich minerals like quartz. It means that there's a low amount of iron and magnesium in them and a high amount of silica. So let's compare. On the left is a granite and on the right is a rhyolite. These rocks have the same chemical composition, just the granite is coarse-grained, indicating it's intrusive, and the rhyolite is fine-grained, indicating it's extrusive. Here on the left is a coarse-grained gabbro, and on the right is a fine-grained basalt. Those two rock types have the same chemical composition. A gabbro is coarser grained because it's intrusive, and a basalt is finer grained because it is extrusive. Bowen's reaction series is a listing of the minerals in the order that they crystallize out of a magma based on their temperature. So high temperature crystallization would be minerals like olivine and the calcium-rich feldspars, and those would be minerals that are part of an ultramafic rock. Ultramafic means it's a rock high in magnesium and iron. Going to the other end of Bowen's reaction series, this is low temperature crystallization, and the minerals that form at low temperatures would be a different feldspar, an orthoclase feldspar that has potassium in it, a quartz or muscovite mica. So those are low temperature crystallizing minerals, and a rock that has those in them is the silica rich, and we call that felsic. So felsic is silica rich, low temperature minerals. Mafic and ultramafic would be rocks that crystallize at a higher temperature and have more iron and magnesium in them. I don't want you to memorize that. All right, why does melting occur? Move my face over here. Here's two instances, the main instances where we have melting. It's related to plate tectonics. So this is look at the surface here. I have this faulting. This is a rift zone where eventually this would be a mid-ocean ridge. And the crust is thinning here. When it thins, weight is taken off of the asthenosphere. And when that happens, then the asthenosphere is going to melt. Not like just melt, just right at that area will get partial melting from decompression as the pressure comes off, because it's hot enough to melt. Just the pressure needed to get right. So that's coming up into that rift zone. And then we have a lava flow there in the Rift Valley. So that is decompression melting at a mid-ocean ridge. This rift zone would eventually flood. A subduction zone is going to have melting. Here is the oceanic plate going down. It's going to have melting that is called flux melting. And that flux melting occurs because water decreases the melting temperature of some of those minerals, and that then it's going to melt and then rise up to form a volcano over the subduction zone.